What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for May 12th, 2025. Invictus is fast approaching. We even saw many of the new ships in the video updates. CIG dropped a few big changes on us with scanning, party launching, and a number of ship updates, and it seems like they're planning something kind of big soon. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike. Stop by and say hi if you haven't yet. I always like seeing you guys stop over there. And then, yeah, there are so many patch notes. So before we get to them, let me share with you today's sponsor. Thank you to Boot.dev for sponsoring today's video. They are back. For all you armchair developers in the comments, you yourself can become a backend web developer using Boot.dev's innovative and really smart lessons towards your goals. You will learn backend web development from start to finish with Python and Go programming languages, but what makes these lessons so different and cool is they use modern game design to really create a self-paced but captivating RPG game that will teach you to code. It's really neat. They have bi-monthly boss fights where the community rallies together and gains bonus XP for each lesson completed during the event. The course list is vast. They have lessons for your web development journey that cover what seems like it all. They cover languages like we mentioned, but also databases with SLQ and even Linux. Here's the really cool part. All of Boot.dev's content is free to read and watch in guest mode. The paid membership unlocks the interactive features like hands-on coding, AI assistance, progress tracking, and the game mechanics. With that, Boot.dev never wants their students to feel like they aren't getting value, so they offer a 30-day no questions asked refund policy, as well as a free demo of every course and its interactive features. So head over to Boot.dev and use my code SaltEMike to get 25% off your entire first year if you choose an annual plan. Once again, that is code SaltEMike for 25% off your first payment at Boot.dev. And thanks as always for engaging with our sponsors, but we have a ton to get through, so let's get to those patch notes. And all right, nothing really on Monday, and we start out on Tuesday with a 4.1.1 open PTU, and the first thing is synchronized party launching, and it's really solid. Big groups previously had issues joining servers together, so now if the leader cancels the launch, everyone also cancels as well. So this is all just great. Just makes everyone join the queue together, and yeah, you just wait till you can get in. For bugs, they're trying to deal with issues where you lose weapons after logging out, but the biggest change is with ship names, actually. All ships, unless they're nameable, and have been named on the PTU at least, when they come up on your HUD, they're just a serial number. I think you've kind of been seeing this throughout the PU over the last few weeks. You cannot find out who is flying that ship, which is the standard name of the ship before this patch came out, unless you can scan them down. Now, at the moment, this works very awkwardly, right? Player names will not come up unless the signal strength, which is the top section of the half circle on the right side of the scanning HUD, I know it's a lot, is around 80 to 90%. That's usually achieved like being 5 kilometers away from the target, but if you're flying towards them and them flying towards you, that distance closes really fast, and the scan just takes too long, so they likely would be out of your point of view and flying past you, thus breaking the scan, and then you might not know who it is. They've probably already done a bullet pass and your shields are down, right? So it's a bit of a mess there. Is it even, or I should say it's even worse to find out how many crew names are on a ship, because you need to be at nearly 100% signal strength for that. So overall, I don't hate the idea of doing this. The game has multi-crew ships and nearly all sci-fi and even real-life interactions with ships and spaceships in general is based off of the ship's name, not the person who's flying it. But like always, this feels like it doesn't fit with the current experience. I'm not sure why they don't address ship naming of all ships and scanning before delivering this change, as it adds nearly nothing and takes away the ability to know who you're dealing with and makes the on-screen clutter just very hard to understand. And then lastly, they snuck Jared's kind of new show in there, and it was all staticky, but yeah.
I'm James Harriman, and this is an SSN Newsflash, giving you the Empire's top news in under a minute. Today's headline: medical community has announced widespread failure of regen tech. In the past 24 hours, over 3,000 incidents of imprinted humans failing to regen has thrown the Empire into chaos, leading many to suspect that the life-saving technology might not be as safe as previously thought. Imperator Addison released a statement calling for an all-hands-on-deck approach to finding a solution.
I understand that a lot of people are scared, but know that we are leveraging the full power of the UEE and the scientific community to rectify this problem as quickly as possible.
That's our news flash. See you next time.
Cool, I guess, but it didn't really fit what we saw in the ISC captures a few weeks back, so I don't know if that's just what they can do for now and if we'll get more in the future. Then for Wednesday, first off, right under the known issues section, CIG notified players that they will lose all equipped items if they don't remove them all before they update. So if you have armor or weapons you really care about, take them off ASAP. Next is a big update for ships. They raised the capacitor pool, not just for turrets on these ships, but for pilot-controlled guns. Now, this is all like kind of big multi-crew ships. There's a list in the patch notes. I'm not sure this makes multi-crew more viable, though, but I do think it could potentially do the opposite. It makes multi-crew ships flown solo more often, which is oddly beneficial for them financially. Coincidence? I think not. But most people understand the issues with turrets are they're inaccurate, and more bullets is not going to change that, right? On the contrary, if you're in a crew, I think turrets will do a little bit better in PvE because those ships don't fly around as erratically, right? In terms of being able to take PvE missions down faster, and yeah, you just have to wait for your capacitor less. So it just probably is better, along with the pilot having more capacitor. Yeah, DPS should just be much higher, right? And then, or I guess damage over time would be much higher. And I hope you noticed that they updated the VFX on some of these turret weapons, which is kind of cool. And then the Valakar actually take damage now. Each one has 3 Valakar fangs, but they did lack a description in this patch. And then Thursday, they opened Wickelow's showroom again, and all the new stuff is down on the bottom floor, while they brought some of the older stuff that we had used in 4.1 upstairs. Now, nothing super crazy here, to be honest. After the initial surprise of Wickelow just simply existing, we kind of know what to expect here with skin guns, armors, and yeah, ships with decent components. I'm holding off on doing the mission, but all players will now receive script for doing the Polaris mission, so that's kind of cool. And they added a visual recoil effect when some weapons are used, right? They just have 3 different weapons that they're currently using. I jumped into the Polaris turret, and it was a lot better than I expected it to be. It makes them feel kind of punchy. You absolutely can turn this off, or what's even better is there's a slider, so you can turn it down if you like it, but yeah, not as heavy as the full version. And then comms calls for Gilly and others were supposed to be working in this patch, but they weren't. And then the Valakar Fang actually has a description, but I'm kind of disappointed by it. They're used for items that players don't use, which is jewelry. And then Friday, the biggest thing in this patch is quite interesting. First off, no RC next to any of the names on the PTU, which means release candidate. So there were no plans of releasing this patch this week. So there's still a bit more they want to do. Any ship that you own on a server that you are actively on and it's out in that world, you will now have a marker for it that you can quantum travel to. So if you like using big ships that can hold other ships, you can kind of live on that big ship now and, you know, do things outside of it and be able to get back to it, which is pretty cool. But this has to be kind of just the start. It's not everything that it needs to be, right? We kind of need the ability to share the marker to fly to my ship with my party members or org members, right? But again, it's a very good start. Also, there are some new bombs and new holders for these bombs that could be added to ships other than bombers, apparently. Let me know more in the comments on this one, as I didn't have enough time to check it out. It is a holiday weekend in the US. It's Mother's Day, so say hi to your mothers if you haven't yet. I guess I'm recording this on Mother's Day, but yeah, when you're watching this, it'll be past that, but say hi to your mothers anyway. For bugs, they may have fixed one of the bigger troll exploits that was, I thought, quite funny, but yeah, it was happening a lot, and it was not very fun, where you can set off a bomb, essentially, in an armistice zone using mining gadgets. So if you saw a lot of dead bodies around, that's usually what it was for. So that was the patch notes for this week. Lots of stuff there. Lots of things changing for big ships. But let's move on to other updates. And we'll get to those other updates in a minute. I actually meant the monthly report. So let's start out with AI content. Main thing for this is I would focus on the second paragraph here, where they found a new way to share stories and events. And this either has to be the AI calling you in comms that we know about, or Jared's new show, or it could be something entirely different. Let me know what you guys think it is. And then AI features, again, this is everything left on the screen, right? But the second paragraph is the one that interests me, right? And that is the Valakar getting more behaviors. We don't currently see these in the PU, but for some reason I see a lot of people thinking that this will somehow lead to the big one that we saw at CitizenCon, but I don't know about all that just yet, right? Given how many problems they have with the small ones. AI tech, this one's pretty cool. In the last paragraph, you can see the team can now record and capture player movements and turn that into something the AI can copy. So now I've been waiting to see the end result of this for years, and that is landing zones and stations actually feeling like hubs for activity. Whether it was, thousands of actual players in a location or NPCs coming and going, that's just what I feel like the game needs to feel alive, right? This could help, but who knows? And the FPS AI are still so jank, so who knows if this is a squadron thing or an us thing, right? We'll see. Then for ship art, obviously we're at the Invictus time, so the ship stuff is going to be big, right? 3 new ships planned for the event, and we'll see those in the ISC, so stay tuned. I'm not going to really mention them too much, because spoilers, so if you see them, enjoy. And then the MISC Starlancer TAC is complete that we saw last week. And then there are 4 more unannounced vehicles working their way through the pipeline. And then there's the Pioneer, but that seems so unlikely to finish this year because it's huge and they're still just working it out visually, right? And now that was the EU team. So the NA team is making 2 variants and a new ship, which is clearly a cargo ship because they're mentioning the cargo bay. Please be the Ironclad. Please be the Ironclad. And then the RSI Apollo also is working through Greybox, with the med bay being a focus, of course, because that's what the ship's all about. And then lastly, the RSI Perseus interior is cooking well. If it's anything like the Polaris, I'm sure it will be great. And then for core gameplay, the start of this mentions that the team works across both games. So I know where most of the work probably is on, and I doubt it's Star Citizen, right? Based on some of the conversation there, but they are doing something I can't wait to see how it plays out, and that is removing soft death. They want us to be able to recover our ships and get them flying again, along with more interesting ways for them to die, right? This is first that we've heard about the flight model in a while. On this next one, they mentioned new spaceflight mode, which has control surfaces as well that would be in atmosphere. Then you have spaceflight, atmospheric flight. They're kind of separating the two. I think we heard about this in a ISC, SCL-esque thing around the last event last year or something. I can't remember, or earlier this year. They have added the new quantum boosting stuff, but we can kind of see again that's not a focus on Star Citizen, it seems like. It looks like Squadron, because look at the last sentence, right? Further work will focus on improving the current experience and making it compatible with multiplayer, because it wasn't made for a multiplayer game. Like right now, right? That is super telling. For scanning, they're trying to make it less clunky, it seems, and have less friction. Specifically, I see them mentioning not having to scan items in a room that you're already in, which definitely makes sense. For the economy, the team is discussing economic models from history and fiction to get a better impression of how the economy will feel when it's fully fledged. I have no words for this, really. I think we're in a bit of trouble if we're trying to figure out how things are going to feel at this stage, when you should be basing everything off of player action, right? How the players are interacting with your system, and then going, ooh, I don't like that, or ooh, I like that, right? And then just keep building upon it. I thought that's what this is all about, but hold on, let's go look at history instead. So maybe I'm misunderstanding this. I probably am, but I'm not a fan of where the economy in the game is going. I think that's very obvious. They're also probably the most important factor in the item recovery stuff, moving to tiers 1 and 2, and that they're working on that. So that's good, because tier 0 obviously has its issues, and then tier 1 and 2 is where our feedback is really going to matter, and hopefully some significant changes get made there for me, at least. Mission design, most of the mentions here are what we already have, but the last paragraph points out a change to Wicklow ships, but not the contested zone ones, I guess. And that is that Wicklow ships will be stock besides the paint. And Odd Job Entertainment made a comment on one of my TV videos. He makes YouTube content for Star Citizen as well. He's a really great dude, so you should check him out. Pointed out that there is an insurance level that gives you back the stock ship, right, for the future of what we know. So I think they probably want to maintain that like all stock ships are pretty low end, and then you upgrade the components that are in them. And then narrative, this one's kind of heavy. There are new NPCs being kind of worked on for multiple missions, and there are new locations for what looks to be a pretty big part of the ongoing story, to be honest. I think we're in a bit of a quiet moment in terms of the game story, but it seems like they want to ramp it up a little bit sooner. And then UI and VFX. I'm kind of putting these two together because it basically highlights what the priorities are right now. Everything is about vehicles, or in other words, you know, the ship sales and events, and you know, kind of part of having this bug fixing initiative. It's what's going to happen, right? I'm dying for the star map to be better, and that's what I thought VFX and UI would be doing, but instead they're working on ships, and it's just kind of frustrating. Like, this is one of those actual examples where you can say there is something more important that you could be working on, but the priorities don't align with the letter from the chairman, right? At all, when you read this kind of things. And then, but I don't know. It's just like, are you going to implement the marker system that you said at 2023 SitCon? Are you going to make the roadmap or the star map a little bit easier to work with? Or are we just going to work on spaceships, right? It's one of those. So let's get to roadmap updates, and hopefully there's something good there for UI or something. I don't know. All right, and pretty normally we're starting out with what is getting committed for 4.1.1. There's, nothing too exciting here. This is already very much out there. We already know these things. Maintenance missions have been in the PTU for a while, and they're more of a proof of concept, I would say, than anything a player would do as a career at the moment. But I think it could help inform future base building maintenance. Like, hey, is this fun? Are people liking this? What would we want to do differently? What would we want to kind of highlight that people are liking? That kind of stuff. Animal population control is really just simple kill quests, so nothing crazy there. And the event of the month, Hunt the Polaris. I think once we learn the actual reward, this will be more interesting, but the mission itself is quite in-depth and uses most, if not all, the new logic from like patrol and ambush missions, so it's pretty cool. And then they list out the hairstyles that are now committed, along with the Volt SMG and component balance pass, definitely made to improve military grade components. A little bit more on that a bit later. And lastly, but certainly not least, is a full list of the new Wicklow ships. And I plan on playing on my alt account from now on that only has a cutter. So check out twitch.tv/SaltEMike for that. I think that's mostly what I'm going to be doing in 4.1.1. And I have to say that some of these ships are certainly on my list to chase after. And then kind of padding the roadmap. Now, I say padding, I think they can... you could use that as a negative, and if you want to take it that way, go ahead. But I just see it as like what's actually happening here, right? These things happened, and they happened a while ago, so there isn't much of a reason for them to put it in the roadmap. But occasionally, I like to go back and see what was done in like 3.14 to remind me of like, yeah, that patch was bigger than I thought it was, or it added a lot of stuff that I thought was important. So documenting each little thing is how I see it, is just part of the process, and I know just some people will take it the wrong way. And then lastly, the only thing really of note being added to the progress tracker is radiation gameplay, which was something we saw at CitizenCon 2023. So with that, that's the roadmap. Let's move into video updates. All right, and we had an ISC this week that was all about 4.1.1 missions, and they start out with stating how many missions they created along with the biggest one.
In Alpha 4.1.1, we are going to be dropping about 60 new missions, and it's going to be our biggest drop since 4.0. Let's start with our big headliner, Hunt the Polaris. Hunt the Polaris is a mission where the Frontier fighters have stolen a UEE Polaris, which was bound for Invictus, and they're trying to escape with it and get it back to Pirate. Your job is to stop them.
We can't let them get away.
In order to stop them, you
are chasing them around Stanton. You have to search for them, you have to ambush them, you have to defend other ships from them as well as they continue on their path to Pyro.
When you encounter the Polaris, it won't be alone. It will have some Frontier Fighter friends as backup.
Let's get the hell out of here.
What's really cool about this mission is you don't even have to do it alone.
The Polaris quantumed away.
The UE have sent their own guys as well, and there's a hammerhead that, if you keep alive, will help keep you alive too. I think it'll be a really good test of just how strong your friends are, and yourself too.
The 60 mission thing is a bit of a cop-out because most of them are like copy and paste in terms of the player-facing types of missions, but the Polaris mission is definitely one of a kind, and I think from a design and story perspective, it's really good. I know that we, got the pirate steals a big ship thing before, but the fact that they're working their way through to get to the Stanton Gate, I think is kind of cool. And the next up is the first group of missions, patrol missions.
Next, there are 12 different patrol contracts split between Headhunters and Foxwell.
Foxwell being the faction that gives you the legal version of these missions, and Headhunters will give you the illegal version. The patrol missions in 411 are a little different than our standard missions. We wanted a mission that was not linear. You will go to a point throughout space, and it will randomly generate between our pool of current objectives. Currently, there's 4 objectives that it can generate between. So you'll go to point number 1, it will pick between one of those 4 objectives for you to complete. Once you complete it, it will send you to another point in space where it will generate another objective, and so on until you've completed 3 points.
Scans are showing outlaws inbound.
Objective 1 is a traditional kill all the ships that appear. That doesn't really require any more explanation. Objective 2 is protect a ship that's under attack from the bad guys. Objective 3 is a new objective called Search and Destroy. And Objective 4 is what we're calling the empty objective.
Not seeing anything.
Where you show up and actually nothing happens. I have to say that so people don't think it's a bug.
I think I like the idea of these the most, but they're a bit time consuming, and yeah, with continued quantum travel issues, they can be painful, but I think these are the missions that have the most promise, since over time, they should be less and less repetitive. The new experience at patrol missions are search and destroy objectives, I should say, and they explain how all that works here.
Search and Destroy is a new objective that we've created. We wanted an objective that was less heavy on combat.
The player will go to the location and they'll receive a certain number of areas to discover. It's up to the player to go there and ping and scan with their ship scanners and discover what's going to happen. The player may discover friendly probe, that's one of the UEEs. You're just going there to make sure it's all operational.
Everything is in order.
Or you may discover that there's a hostile one. It's been hacked by another organization and you're there to destroy it.
Seems this satellite's been hacked by outlaws. You're gonna have to take it out.
In some cases, if you destroy it, then the people who own the satellite won't be very happy with you, so they'll QT in and start attacking you.
Now, these are actually the most repetitive part of the missions that they continue to add. Like, if they continue to add more stuff, then it would be fun. But because it's just like, okay, go to this thing, check if it's bad or good, and that's pretty much it. It also adds 3 more objectives to the 3 objectives that you already have to do. So it just adds time, and it gets very tedious. But overall, I think it's pretty cool. I just hope we see more of that type of stuff in the future. And then next up is my favorite mission type, ambush.
There are also now 12 new ambush contracts, also split between Foxwell and Headhunters.
An ambush mission is where you lie in wait for your target to appear before striking them fast and hard.
So it's a mission for...
No, for tactical masterminds.
When you get to the ambush location, you will be asked to hide inside a new high emission zone.
Which means that the enemy can't detect you when they jump in. So first there's a wave of scouts, that shows up, and they're going to scan for their valuable transport to arrive on time. And since they don't detect you, they give the all clear. The target arrives, and that's the moment you jump out of the high emission zone, which will make you appear on radar, but it's too late for them to escape, and that's when you take down the cargo hauler. I'm really excited about these missions because the high emission zones will unlock further options for anyone to make really cool missions, both PvE and PvP related.
I really like these because they're not necessarily because they're super fun. I actually think the patrol ones are probably going to be more fun, but yeah, it's just these missions are kind of, while being your standard kill quest, the idea of this high signature area is something I would just like to see more throughout the game, ways to hide from players and things like that on both the attacker side and the defender side of situations, right? And next is all the new mission rewards.
Many of these new missions have a chance to spawn an ace pilot.
This guy's just picked up a ship that we've tagged as extremely dangerous.
They are either aligned with the headhunters or the UEE. You won't always know when they're going to arrive. So they will always be a sort of rogue variable inside those missions that you'll have to deal with.
Talking about their skill levels.
Oh yeah, their skills crank. I can't crank it any harder. So I think so skilled is definitely their name.
And if you are lucky enough to be able to take him out, you can loot his corpse and he will have some considerable amount of guild scrip on him. These scrip are in-game items that you can pick up and collect. You are getting 1 scrip for the council and 1 scrip for the mercenary guild. And you can use them as currency for collector missions. He really, really wants these guild scrip. As part of Invictus, we are adding our very first ones as a kind of scavenger hunt around the halls. We're also giving them away as mission rewards for the new combat missions. So there will be even more ways to get those new collector ships. Oh, there's also new collector ships this patch, but I don't know what they are.
I do.
Now, I love the ace pilot thing. I love where script can go, and that we have to remember that Wicklow will not be the only barter. So it seems like Wicklow is just kind of killing Hathor. But like for me, I hope military script along with, or what is it, mercenary script and council script will be having their own mission givers, and that was kind of hinted in the ISC at the end. And yeah, so that'll probably happen, and then Wicklow will be its own thing, and yeah, it's just going to take time for them to do that stuff. And lastly, Invictus is changing the way they do things.
We can see that this year's Invictus looks a little bit different than what we're used to. This year Invictus will not feature different daily layouts, but instead has a better, well-crafted layout for the entire duration of Invictus. We can see that there's extra care being taken in the presentation of the ships. This really shows the might of the UEE. At the entrance of the halls, we can see the rental kiosks. This is where you'll this year be able to rent the various ships. Make sure to return to these kiosks as they are on a daily/bi-daily rotation. Invictus this year is not just about ships, but it's about the way that you customize your ships, how you create your own experience with your vehicles, and how you truly make your vehicles your own.
Now, I like this because it prevents all the rotations and issues that have happened in the past. To be clear, rotations between rental ships will still happen, but they're doing it on the rental kiosk, not at the event itself. So make sure you check those to get the rentals that you want to try. Now, that was video updates. Now let's actually go into other updates. All right, and as always, we start out with the sneak peek, and this is obviously a spaceship that will be sold in the next week or so. It looks like it might be like the Mirai ship, so probably the Guardian that we saw on ISC, but I'm not sure, so I haven't followed the ship stuff as much, so leave a comment and let me know which you think it is. And then for subscriber promotions, this month's sub promo isn't as exciting for me, as the $10 sub is just a t-shirt of the Idris P, not something I would use, and then the $20 subs get the t-shirt and Invictus patches, which is probably a cool thing that you can have in your base one day. And there's no dedicated store option, but this package has the 2 previous items plus a uniform and an LH-86. And then for dev posts, that's the last kind of thing that we're going to talk about here. But Nico made a post about all the little things in 4.1.1, which most of those things we have covered here on the channel over the last couple weeks, so I won't spend a ton of time on it. And it's also really well covered on the TV channel for a few of them. So yeah, we recover the refinery mining bag changes, which are awesome. The only issue here is that on Wednesday, basically the MISC prospector bags do snap to cargo grids that are too high. So now that opens up most ships that can hold MISC bags, but they cannot hold Argo bags, which is a little bit weird. But if you actually think about it, MISC bags are 8 SCU, so it can fit a proper 8 SCU box, and that is a 2x2x2 grid, so the standard 8 SCU size, right? But then Argo bags are actually 12 SCU in volume, so maybe that's a design choice that they made. I'm not sure. Then components got to rebalance. Feel free to pause and read how each one is changing, but the goal here is to absolutely make choices in components matter, and we'll see how this works. But I don't see it making too many changes just yet. And Wicklow is obviously making military script or excuse me, I keep saying military, mercenary script and council script as currency, and will largely replace anything at Hathor for now that is contested, right? And you'll be able to gain these very easily, solo and kind of instanced at these mission locations, right? They're also improving the interaction prompts, so looting should be a lot easier, and the changes that we covered around the Argo raft, which is now awesome. And that will leave us with this week's Week in Review. There's quite a few more things going on with the flight computers and bombs and stuff, but I kind of want to leave some of that stuff to be found for when the actual event happens and these items are actually integrated into the game throughout next week, because it's a lot of speculation and it's nothing really has been super solidly said about these things. So I'm looking forward to checking those out next week and actually using them and showing you how they work. So with that, guys, I will leave it. Thank you so much for watching. Like if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment on anything that we might have missed or got wrong or whatever. And then, yeah, subscribe if you guys are really enjoying the Weeks in Review so you don't miss the next one. And I'll catch you guys next week.